If you're a founder or CEO and you're working hard, doing everything you were told to do, and you're still feeling financially stuck or unsafe, then FEM was built for you. You're not broken. You're not bad with money. You're just under pressure and underprotected. So here's the truth. Most people aren't bad with money. They're just trying to make financial decisions inside of systems that were never designed to protect them. So they keep earning more, doing more, pushing harder, and somehow still feel behind. That's not an income problem. That's a sequencing problem, a systems problem. And FEM is built on one core principle: protection comes first, profit comes second. Because growth without protection doesn't create freedom, it creates fragility. And FEM is not just accounting, bookkeeping, and taxes. FEM uses FEM Flow, which is a financial operating system, one that works with your nervous system and helps you to stop living in survival mode and start building real protection. So your money can finally support you instead of stressing you out. You don't have to figure this out alone, and you don't have to guess your way forward, because financial protection, security, and independence are your birthright, and FEM is here to help you reclaim them. So welcome to the Fevolution Podcast.
All right, so let's talk about something that's happening right now using a recent situation that a lot of people are not really catching. There is this belief that if your brand is growing, your audience is getting bigger, your visibility is increasing, then your business is becoming more stable. It's not, because visibility is not stability. Visibility is a volume knob, like the ones on your radio, right? And if you turn up the volume on something that is not structurally sound, you're not building something stronger. You're just making something fragile louder. Think about it. When you turn up the volume on your radio, if static is coming through, are you going to continue to increase the volume, or are you going to turn it down and adjust before you increase? Okay. So we're going to talk about the example. All right. High visibility, big brand, major rollout, and everything looks solid from the outside. And then one disruption hits. Bad press, public backlash, people shifting how they feel, and then everything slows down. Sales start dropping fast. Momentum pauses. And partnerships start moving differently. They got to create distance, right? And it doesn't take a year, it takes weeks. And this is where people get confused, because the business is still running. So they assume it must be fine, but it's not. Because what we're looking at is a system that felt the hit immediately. And that tells you everything. And if you're being honest with yourself, this is the part that makes you uncomfortable, because you know if something hit your business like that, it would feel the same exact way. You'd have the same reality. So let's talk about the diagnosis, okay? Because at first glance, this looks like a self-care issue because the founder was the brand was the business, and everything depended on how people felt about the founder. Okay. So when perception shifted, everything felt it. That is a self-care failure because there was no separation, right? The founder was the system, but that was not the root. That's only what we can see. That's the visible failure. The real issue was stability. And this is where people get it twisted because they think that stability means nothing moves, nothing drops, nothing shifts. But that's not true because stability is not about whether your business is still running. It's not about preventing disruption because disruptions are going to happen. Revenue can drop, momentum can slow, perception can shift. That part is outside of your control. Stability is actually about what happens after that. It's about whether the business, your business, has the capacity to absorb that hit without being forced right back into reactive decisions instead of directive ones. And in this case, the capacity wasn't there. The business didn't collapse, but the fact that everything shifted immediately and had to be responded to right then tells you that stability was never properly built. Because when stability is in place, a disruption doesn't turn into urgency. It doesn't force immediate decisions. It doesn't even push the business into immediate pressure. It creates time to respond, time to adjust, time to let things stabilize without overcorrecting early. Okay? It also gives time to absorb the impact without making immediate adjustments. But when stability isn't there, everything becomes reactive. So, yes, self care matters because self care is what creates that separation, right? It's what makes sure the founder is not the only thing holding the business together. But stability is what makes that separation hold under pressure. Because if you don't have reserves, if you don't have protection, if you don't have time to let things play out without risking collapse, then the moment something shifts, you still feel it immediately. And so does your business. That is the difference. Self care removes you as the single point of failure. Stability makes sure the business can survive the impact when you're taking a hit. So you need both because without self care, you're the system. And without stability, the system can't withstand the pressure. But let's be real, because at the end of the day, this isn't even about that situation, right? I used it as an example, yes. But in reality, this is about what your business would do if it was put in the same position. So let me say this clearly. If you are your business, then you need FemFlow now. Not later when something happens, not in the middle of you taking a hit. You need it now. So let's get your self care and stability secured, right? Because survival, you got that covered. If you're still in business, obviously you're covering your expenses, right? But let's get your self care and your stability covered so that if and or when you take a hit, your business doesn't take the hit with you. It can hold you through that hit. Because we're going to build the necessary separation. We're going to build the necessary protection to make sure that your business can still stand even when you can't. Because there's a part two. There's a part that people miss in all this, okay? And it's something you've been carrying the whole time. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about it. So make sure you follow the podcast and you turn on your notifications. All right? I'll see you then. Bye.